My next guest, Kelly-Rae, was indeed my first recorded podcast interview. I was first introduced to Kelly on Facebook watching one of her very entertaining dancing videos, wearing a wig and doing some pretty funny things. And I thought, I think I need to meet this person. And so we connected and discovered we have a love of so many things that we share, including the game of lawn bowls. Kelly has performed at an elite level representing Australia in a sport that we both love and enjoy. Stepping into competition for the first time representing your country is a huge achievement and a huge moment for anyone. For Kelly-Rae, it was even more intense. For everything that was going right in her lawn bowls life, things were going very, very wrong in her personal life. She felt unable to share a lot of her story with people at the time, and in fact, some parts of her story are shared with me in this podcast publicly for the very first time. I was very honoured to have Kelly as my guest, and note that this was the very first recorded episode for the Why Me with Vera-Lee podcast series. Have you ever had one of those gut-wrenching moments where life ground you to your knees and you found yourself asking in despair, why me? This podcast is all about sharing your stories and journeys, from asking why me to declaring this is why me. Discover how ordinary human beings like you and I have found their extraordinary levels of hope, courage, compassion, and provided a new perspective for greater potential and self-empowerment during their darkest defining moment. As a creative artist and coach myself, my guests and I discuss the interconnectedness of emotion and transformation in those moments, and how their actions then seize the opportunity for discovering their unfiltered and authentic voice, and ultimately their life's purpose. I invite you to join me each week as we share insights into how adversity can be turned into a unique advantage. Today's guest is Kelly-Rae. I connected with Kelly through Facebook, as I am also a mad keen bowler, and so is Kelly. She lives in Western Australia and has played lawn bowls through her childhood, and now integrates bowls and wellness for on and off the green success. Welcome to the WhyMe podcast, Kelly.
Thank you. Looking forward to it.
Tell me a little bit about your story and what led you to your most impactful defining moment, where you knew something in your life had to change.
Yeah, so I guess this story never gets any easier, but it was back when I was an elite athlete, playing lawn bowls, playing for state Australia. I was in Sydney and I literally was living the dream, and I went and won a gold medal at the Asia Pacific Games. But
awesome.
Through all that time it was pretty awesome. But, the week before this tournament to debut to play for Australia, which I had my whole family coming to watch in Malaysia, I went through some pretty hard things in a relationship where I lost 10 kilos in a week from emotional stress.
Wow.
Yeah. And so I was going to go play for my country for the first time, but off the green I was battling. And I'll be honest with you, I was crying. I didn't even know if I had a place to go back to when I got back to Australia. But From that, I had my family there. I actually got the flu, which was when the swine flu was happening. So it was a pretty interesting situation, but I ended up playing for Australia. And I still remember Ian Schuback saying, you always remember your first bowl for Australia. And the first bowl, I was shaking the mat, but it was a side toucher. And then the next one I did went straight in the ditch because I was so excited. And, that was how it was, and, to win a gold medal in the mixed triples with Jared and Anne was an amazing thing, and had my family there. So, that was the start. After that, I guess, I then had 10 years where I went through a lot of hard things that happened in my life where it ended up me putting on 30 kilos. I was depressed, anxiety. I lost a bowls community. And I also got to the point where I actually didn't want to be here anymore.
Right.
And it was at that point that I didn't know where to go. And I had a mate reach out to me. Her name was Melzy. She was back in Perth from the hockey group and just said, "Hey, Kel, I want to help you. If I can help you do simple changes in your life, I want to help." And so she started me on this Kickstart 10 program, which is just about simple changes in your life. And it was the best thing. Now, I'm not going to lie, I didn't do all the simple changes you meant to, but it was just changing things around. Like, I was at the point where I was drinking 9 cans of Diet Coke a day. And, I relied on it. Otherwise, I'd get a migraine. And, from doing this program, I just literally just kicked it out the door. And, the other thing was, just eating healthy was a big factor. And, all these little things and exercise, like I got anxiety to go to a gym, where the fact was that I remember my parents even brought me a gym membership for my birthday. And I went there and I just had to go back after the trial to hand in the electronic key thing to get my $100 refund. I couldn't even go back to get my $100 refund. That's the point where I was at. But from all this, I was then welcomed to this new community. And then from that, I kind of thought, how can I now understand that it's things that are off the green that impact people as much as on the green.
Right.
So I've had my bowls coaching business for, I actually just found out it's 10 years. So that's awesome. It's such a journey. But now what I want to do is impact and help people that are struggling off the green, because as a coach, you can help people on the green with their delivery, with you're setting the foundation of that. But a lot of things that impact people is off the green. And you don't have to be a bowler for that, is going through mental health and physical adversities that, I now want to impact other people's lives and say it's okay to reach out, So, that's my journey now, is to help with the wellness of people that are struggling, and to be honest, sometimes it's just one step forward that can help you on that journey. And don't get me wrong, I still got a journey to keep going on, but that's what I embrace now. So I guess that's kind of a little bit about myself.
Yeah, that's awesome. So listening to you talking about that, I've got a few other questions for you. So when you mentioned about putting on those 30 kilos and, how you were in that state, how did that affect your wanting to be involved in the sport that you love?
I guess, it was just interesting for me that when I put the kilos on, it made me see how hard it is for bowlers, when you have those physical changes. And I think the biggest thing was August last year, I did my ACL, my knee, which I then put another 10 kilos on because I couldn't do anything. And just before COVID happened, I got back on the green because I'd lost the kilos, after doing a boot camp. And I found the difference between a delivery and I just saw how people, it can impact them, and I guess for me that it's also from me sharing my story with other people, it's opened an avenue for people to reach out to me with mental health. And, I can be here for you to talk to, or I can, support you. But, it's really made me see that when you're confident, you're happy within yourself, everything else starts to fall in place. But sometimes that's the hardest thing to do as a person, especially when you get to a point where, you look back and go, look where I was and where I am now. So, that's where now is, having an understanding of what people feel like. And that's been the biggest thing for me. And, as much as it's been such a hard journey, I'm blessed to have gone through this journey. So I get it and I understand people now that I can help,
Yeah, right. So this is a real example of using your adversity and your challenges you've gone through to now work for you, because without those experiences, you wouldn't have had that extra level to be able to relate to people on and off the green. And I know that for myself, being an elite athlete myself, which was for tennis when I was growing up, my bone diseases and my illnesses stopped me from being able to keep playing that sport. And so that was actually how I got into lawn bowls. That lawn bowls was my recovery sport, that I could be a mad keen bowler now all of a sudden. And, you know, all the same sort of challenges that you face as an athlete. However, what I discovered was that lawn bowls, it is so much also about your mental game and your mental state. And so if you're not feeling quite right in yourself, or you're more focused on how off you're feeling rather than being able to focus on the game, that just makes such a huge difference to your whole outlook to everything. And you carry that off the green with you as well.
Absolutely. And I think, you know, we all talk about mental toughness and that, but, you know, to the point of, you know, the biggest eye-opener was that when I was going to go play for Australia, is that I'm in the room crying and, you know, don't even know what I'm going to go back to. And I know this, people might laugh, people have laughed at me, but before a game routine, I actually listened to High School Musical, Get Your Head in the Game.
Yeah.
And I listened to that song, and what I realized is that when I step on that green, everything off the green, I can't control right now.
Yeah.
But this might be the only time I get the chance to represent my country.
Yeah.
And I need to be present. And, you know, I look back now and going, if I'd let the things off the green affect me on the green, I would be living every day regretting that moment. Yet now I can actually look back and go, you know what? That was the best moment I had. You know, and I think a lot of people don't realize, and this is something as a coach, even after 10 years, I've realized that it's on the green stuff is easy. It's off the green that is really hard, you know, and everyone has so much going in their life. And, you know, it might be some comment that someone says to you just before you step on the green, you know, that then you think about the whole game. So it's just about, you know, and I think the biggest thing is about changing your thinking, you know, so I think it's a massive thing that it's about understanding yourself and putting those things in place that can benefit you. So, yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's so good to hear you say that. And I know that one of the things that I help my people with too is that connection to themselves, and really focusing on understanding how to be able to sit with yourself in the present moment. A lot of people actually really struggle with that.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you had that experience, but I know that for myself, to be able to reconnect to myself was the biggest way that I could then tap into that courage to take the step, to talk to other people, to reach out. But I had to know who I was first, you know, because if you're not connected, you are a bit sort of scattered to everything else in your life, really.
I totally agree with that. And I think that's one thing that only recently in the last month I launched my Bowls and Wellness. Now, this has been something I wanted to do for nearly over a year. But me personally, I wasn't at that point to, I guess in a way, I needed to learn more about myself first. I needed to be able to look at myself in the mirror going, okay, you're on a journey. It's okay to be who you are now, you know, and also not let your past define who you are now, you know, and that was massive. And, you know, for me, I can be a bit of a larrikin. You know, I'm kind of the one that does some silly dance moves and a bit of a wig here and there to make people smile.
You do.
And everyone just thinks like, oh, Kel, you have so much confidence. But you asked me a year and a half ago, that wasn't me. I'd lost myself. And I totally agree with you. You've got to be happy within yourself. And you've also got to, you know, it's okay that you're going to have your down days. We're all human, you know. So I think it's really important that once you find out and be happy within yourself, you can then move forward. But until you do that, it is really hard because, you know, you have very massive ups and downs, where I find now my downs aren't as down as they used to be. Yeah, I still get my downs, but not such a spiral. So I think that's the difference, that, you know, we're all unique in our own way. You know, we all deserve to be happy. Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm curious then, having gone through that experience, which is a very profound place to be when you're recognizing that you don't even want to be here. Like I just want to acknowledge how massive being at that point in your life is. I know that I've been there. I know how difficult that is and how it takes an awful lot of courage to step past and through that. So I'm curious now, rather than the roller coaster being such high ups and downs, it's a little more consistent. But as you said, we still have our ups and downs.
Yeah.
Do you have like go-to routines or ways that you help yourself when you recognise that you're starting to go into a bit of a down?
I think the biggest thing is just getting outside. Like I literally live 50 metres from the beach here in Perth and in Rockingham, and yeah, it's pretty cool. But, you know, the thing is that when you know that's just there, you kind of get used to it. And now it's like actually going, okay, you know, I'm in the office now at 5:30 or 5 o'clock, just get out for 15, 20 minutes. I think the other thing is about when I start to get stressed or anxiety is like, Kel, what are you getting stressed about? Is actually changing that thinking. And it was recently a book I read was Change Your Thinking that really showed me how we kind of, you know, we program ourselves to react to a certain way. So that's been a big thing. And I think also just the fitness, like, you know, in the backyard, when COVID happened, I, you know, got to set it all up as a fitness, you know, had a boxing bag and all that. And even though I just turn music on, just go out there. And even if it's for 10, 15 minutes, like it's just to do that. And I think one thing that I'm still learning, but I never really did before, was meditation.
Right.
And that's one thing that, you know, I'm the type of person when I go to bed, I am still thinking of everything else. So even just playing meditation music to go to sleep. So they've probably been the big things. But, yeah, I think the biggest thing for me is I've realised that when I eat, when I go to that point where I'll have a couple of days on the weekend to eat crap, I then feel like that. You know,
Yeah.
So, you know, it's when you know, and I never thought that would affect me,
Right.
but now I see it does. And so, yeah, it's just opening my eyes to those little things that I actually now can pick my mood swings and what causes them, whereas before it'd just keep going down, and that's how it was, you know. So.
Yeah, it's so interesting. I have certainly found on my journey that understanding who I am and working through the challenges in life, growing from that, you start to become so much more aware of the information that your body's giving you, you know, and like you're saying, recognizing when those mood swings are going to happen, and recognizing that when you eat crap, you really do feel like crap, you know.
Yep.
So yeah, that's a very valid point that you have there. And I wonder if, you know, if you hadn't gone through that, if that would have ever happened. Do you ever wonder that?
I look back at, you know, where I was at my peak, and I was skinny, so I was running, I was healthy. But to be honest, back then, to where I'm now, I'm, in a way, I'm kind of grateful. Like, I would not recommend doing an ACL knee to recognise that, but
No.
you know, it saw me that when I put that 10 kilos on, that then when I do this, and this, all right, I've got this. And now, like, you know, I still have my moments where I go off, but then I get back on a lot quicker. And that's the difference. I think I've found that, you know, I spent 10 years just going down, whereas now when I start to go down a little bit, I'm already back up. And so, you know, that's a massive difference. And I think, you know, I always look at this, and the fact is that I think you go through things in life that you can look at it in two ways. You can either keep going down that same path, or we can use these to help others and move forward. Yeah. So, you know, it's probably like yourself, you know, like, yes, I've been through all this, but I'm now going to turn this around to help people. So if you're in this position, or if you're struggling, you know, just reach out, you know, just one reach out. That's all you have to do. And that can be the step forward of, you know, if Melzy hasn't reached out to me, where would I be now? You know, just one person. So, as much as this is a freaking hard journey, don't get me wrong, but I absolutely am blessed to have it, to understand, have a bigger understanding of where people are at, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And certainly I think that through adversity we find connections that we may not have had before. So
Yeah,
it's
for
almost
sure.
like, you know, we give off a different energy.
Yeah.
And I know that I always say to people, I came across my husband, and normally he's not the person I would be attracted to. He wasn't the sort of person that, the personality that I would have been attracted to. And yet I was in an extremely vulnerable state when I met him. And so that influenced both the energy I was putting off to him, and as a predatory type of person, he would pick up on that. But, you know, also the fact that I suppose, you know, changed the way I was viewing the world. So, and I certainly find that for myself, having come out the other side, you know, of domestic violence and sexual assault and all the things that happen within that, it was a massive learning curve. It was a massive shock to the system. But I, like you, understand, and I'm actually grateful for the experience. And yes, it took a long time to get to that point, but I'm grateful for the experiences that I had, because now I can connect to so many more people who are still struggling with the healing process, you know, and it's like you develop again a different energy. So people then pick up on that stronger energy that you now have once you've sort of integrated that experience with yourself.
Absolutely. And I think that's the thing is, like, you know, when I went through my hardship was a fact of same thing. Like, I was frightened of being alone, which I was just, you know, people, you know, my ex saw that and got on and just recognized that, and that I was doing everything to make them happy, yet it was all right to kick me under the ground, you know, to the point that I could honestly say it probably took me 3 years after that was to get out of it. You know, I had to reach out to a counselor to show me that this was not a healthy relation. This is not normal.
Yeah.
They convince you that you are not good enough, that you are, no one else will love you, that you have to be with me, like, you know. And yeah, like it's a hard situation to be in.
If you've ever had one of those Why Me moments and would like to be a guest on this podcast series, you can request a booking at whymemovement.com. The Vera-Lee Why Me Challenge is starting again in October and will bring to you weekly tips and tricks about overcoming adversity. Once a week, you will receive a video in the group, as well as some stories and some interesting bits of information to help you on your journey of overcoming adversity and moving through that healing process. If you would like to join the Why Me Challenge in October, please click on the link in the show notes. Let's get back to Kelly's story.
And also, like, when you're not living close to your family, which you're really close, they don't see everything that's going on. And you know, when you end up with a situation that you make that decision, you know, and they do come at you with a knife, you know, or get the police involved, and you lose a house. And, you know, I was living out of a bedroom from a couple from the bowling club. Like, you know, that's surreal. But at the same token is that even though how hard that was, you know, people can, you look back and go, oh, you should have done it earlier, but it's actually doing that step to say, this is not okay. I need to get out. And it's the biggest thing is the fear of starting again. You know, you're losing a house, you're losing a car, you're losing assets, you're losing just the simple things. You know, I still remember when I finally found my rental, and my mum actually flew across and we went shopping, and the shopping was about $600, and that was just for food. That was for just things to clean the house. That was for a mop and bucket. But you know what? It's sometimes those little things that, you know, it meant so much, you know, and, you know, it was just, I think it's something that, you know, if you are going through that, like, or you have been through that, like, you deserve to be loved. You deserve to be treated right. And the hardest thing is just saying, this is not right. I need to get out. And, you know, it is a hard decision, but, you know, I'm so thankful I did that when I did, even if I lost a lot. Ended up meeting someone online and flew the other side of the world to meet them. And, you know, 5 years later, that's the story, you know. So, you know, it's sometimes you just got to go through that stuff. It's not easy, but you can get through it.
Yeah, you absolutely can. Yeah, and good on you. I mean, this is a very difficult thing to go through, and put on top of it the fact that a lot of this happened when you're going to play your first game for Australia. I mean, wow, that's a massive pressure anyway, right? Like anyone who plays sport knows what that, the pressure that's on you. It's that all
I
eyes
think the
on you sort
biggest
of
thing
thing.
is that you hide that side of your life in the bowls community. Like no one knew anything, and you just go there, and that stage I was in Adelaide, and just just be my normal self, and that was it.
Yeah.
I think that on either cases is that you just got to that's what I love about bowls. It's just the community that people embrace you for who you are, and you're kind of like an outlet. So I think that any community you get a part of, I'm thankful I've got two communities that are totally different, but they just give me the energy and the to be a better person. And without them, I might still be on that path, if not worse. So.
Yeah, that's really awesome. Certainly for me, going through the experiences I did, I realised, because you go through a lot of self-reflection, when you get to that point in your life and you realise, this needs to change, this situation needs to change. But then you look inward and you reflect on your part of it. And sometimes there's some truths there that you might not be ready to face yet, or, they really hurt. And to actually be able to look at yourself and, like you were saying about putting on the weight, for example, I put on a lot of weight, and I used to look at myself in the mirror and not recognise the person that was looking back at me, not just for my physicality that had changed, but for the person that I'd lost connection to. And so it was really important to be able to look at myself and understand some things are out of our control, and there are things that we can control, like our responses and our reactions and, how we think. Because at the end of the day, we are still in control of that part of ourselves. So I think it's fantastic that, you saw that in this situation, that you could take the courage and step through that. It's it's fantastic to hear your story.
And I think I totally agree. Like, you look at yourself in the mirror and you don't see you, and people say, like, it's weight gain or whatever, and I just literally just wouldn't look at myself in the mirror, because it's like, you know what, I'm over it. And a lot of it doing is like, outlet, you're stressed, you drink or whatever, you eat crap food, and that's where you go. But I think, like, even now the difference is that I don't define myself of what I look like. I define myself of the journey I'm on, and you just got to get on that journey. And in a way, it's the journey that keeps you going. And what I want to do, and this is what my journey is that if people like me right now jump on this journey with me, let's do it all together. Like yourself, and that's where we met through Facebook, and that's the whole point. Like, you meet people that are on the same journey, and that's when you come together to then if we can impact more people and help more people in the world, then that's our journey. That's what we're doing. And that's one thing that we just need to embrace. And I think also people look at me going, "Oh, you're doing these stupid dances and wigs and all this." I said, "Yeah, but it makes people smile. And if someone's had a crap day and they get on, they're going, they can laugh at me. Well, you know what? You got to laugh at yourself as well, don't you?" So
yeah, you absolutely do. Yeah, no, it is so important. And I mean, when my first introduction for you, I think, was one of you dancing in your wigs. It was a little while ago now, but I was like, who is this chick? Like, really? But it's great.
It's funny because the lady locally that she sells all different things, and I said, "Are you got any wigs?" And she brought over a whole tub, and she goes, "What do you use these wigs for?" I was like, "Trust me, it's okay. It's just to make people laugh." Like, I literally have a box of all these crazy wigs.
Oh, wow. So I think I've only seen 3. How many do you have?
There's plenty more to come.
Oh, very good. No, that's fantastic. Look, thank you so much for being a guest today. And just before we finish, I wanted to just give you an opportunity as well. I know that we have spoken a little bit about the wellness side, and you've spoken to me a bit about the products that you use. Did you want to just take this opportunity to talk a little bit about that as well?
Yeah, sure. So pretty much what I'm a part of now is a community that we help people with to get 33 fruit, veg, and berries in their body, as well as a complete. So it's when you go make a wrong choice, you can make a good choice. And this is pretty much to be part of a smoothie. That, for me was instead of going to the deli to get a packet of chips and a Diet Coke, I now have that on the way to the next job. The biggest thing I've seen a part of this is that, when you start to help your gut health, it then also helps your mental health, and then the physical health comes after that. So, look, yeah, I'd love for any of you to reach out to me. You can Google me or Facebook me on Kelly Ray. It's Kelli, and Ray is WRAY. That's my parents gave me that name. So, or otherwise, Bowls and Wellness on and off the green. I'd love to just have a chat with you, and if I can help you in any way, of how many people I've impacted now and how much these products have just bridged the gap in my health is fantastic. So, yeah, please reach out. And if not, otherwise to Vera, and Vera can get through to me.
Yeah, absolutely, I can. And certainly I'm looking at the products to have a look at those myself as well, because having been on my journey of, going from being an elite athlete to being in the condition that I was at my biggest, I was classed in the super morbid obesity category, so didn't even know there was one. It's a hard road back, and certainly I, through that journey, have understood not only talking about, the healing journey through all the other things that I suffered, but going through a physical healing journey from when your body's been so unwell. At my heaviest, I was 196.4 kilos. I mean, that's just, I can't even now, I can't even comprehend that I was that heavy, but I was. And it just changes everything about you, and you really become very attuned to how your body responds to everything that you put in it. And that's,
absolutely,
the amount of water that you have, it's the amount of nutrition that your body's getting, and how well you're actually processing that nutrition. And like we discussed, synthetic versions are not going to be absorbed anywhere near as well, if at all, by our body than what more natural products are. So
definitely. Yeah. And I think the biggest thing is that, with the programs of like the Kickstart 10, it's about doing simple changes with other people that are like-minded. And what I love about it, and I've tried all the, you lose, 30 days, lose X amount of weight, all that. And even through a lot of my friends is they all do that, but then they put it back on. Now, I'm on this journey. I don't want to be putting it back on. I want to keep, if this takes me 6 years to do it, to be on at where I want, I'll do it. But I don't want to come back to where I am now. And that's what I love about it, is simple changes that are so simple you can do, even if you do 2 out of 10 each time, 10 days, and then you got support. And that's what I really love, is that there's a community that, if you stuff up in one day, tell the community, because you know what, they probably have too. Yeah. And you'll share, okay, like tomorrow, how can we change that, So that's what I really get passionate about. It's simple changes and bridging the gap in your health. So
that's awesome. And I know from my experience with lots of different things, if you speak up, you're almost giving other people the courage to go, oh, yeah, me too. I just wasn't going to say it,
And like the hardest thing for a lot of people, which, for me was Diet Coke, but a lot of people is coffee. The program is about going from, say, 9 coffees a day to 5, and then down to 2. So for me, it was 9 Diet Cokes. Then it was down to 5. Now I still have the 1 or 2, and then now it's like, one in a blue moon. I'm going to lie, I do have one every once in a while, but I don't like the taste anymore, and I'm not reliant on it.
Yes,
your taste changes.
The same. It totally does. I used to be full on. Like when I was at my thinnest, I was on the most Diet Coke, and it was terrible. Yep. It's really bad in so many ways, and I went off it a lot of times, and then whether it was habit or whatever, you'd be out. And with the bowls community, what I learned very quickly, they all love to drink, Yep. So you go and I actually love that aspect of it. You go and play a game, and then you come in and you sit down with those people and you chat and you have a drink. However, as someone that was only drinking water, it was always like, oh, okay, I'll have a Diet Coke. And then I realised before I knew it, I was drinking Diet Coke again. And I was like, I don't even like the taste of it. Like, what am I doing?
And it's funny because, like, at a bowls club, like, the idea is that when you finish a game, they buy you one and then you buy them. Now, if you're playing a carnival and you play 4 games, that's 8 cans of Diet Coke a day.
Yeah, that's right.
And when you're under 18, that's all you drink because you don't want a water. You're going to have a soft drink. And because you brought them a beer, you want to make sure that you get the value back from them, So you ask for a Diet Coke,
so,
like you don't say so water, And,
yeah, that's right.
And then, you turn 18 and then that's beers and then, that's the whole culture. And that's why now I look at it and, I want to change that bowls and wellness is that, during a game, instead of snacking on a packet of chips and getting a Coke, which I did on number 11 ends, that's when I went to the bar, change those little habits to help them. And, I think that's where it all was created. And now with the younger generation, if I can impact that, even if it means that they have something different or just say, hey, look, no, I don't need drink, I don't need Diet Coke. And trust me, Diet Coke isn't a diet. It's just as bad as Coke.
It is, yeah, it's shocking. It's probably worse with all the phenylalanine and everything. Yeah, it's probably worse for us.
I know.
It's pretty bad stuff. Yeah, very glad I don't drink it anymore too. Look, that's been awesome, Kelly. Thank you so much. And I will put a link to your websites in the description as well so that people can go and have a look there. And yeah, I really appreciate you sharing your story. I understand that it's, like you said, it's never really gets any easier. But I mean, just listening to you, you've obviously healed a lot and you've come a long way and you really have integrated what happened into, the growth of the person that you are now and that you're becoming as well. So kudos to you.
No, I appreciate it. Yeah, thanks for the opportunity. It's been great.
Really glad we connected.
For sure.
I would like to share that I have something called a fructose intolerance, which means that most fruits and vegetables actually make me very unwell, which is a very strange predicament to be in, as I've always eaten very clean and healthy food throughout my life and had no idea that some of my GI issues were related to those fruits and vegetables. I'm happy to share my personal experience with my listeners that I'm now enjoying the benefits of bridging the gap with my nutrition and all the little changes that I've made, including this product, which gives me 30 fruit and vegetables and berries for my body every single day. And it's costing me less than the price of buying a takeaway coffee. The really interesting part of this for me is that there is no fructose, and yet I'm still able to receive all of the missing nutrition that I was unable to get without the ill effects of eating the fructose. So if you would like to know more information, you can contact Kelly at the link that is in the show notes.